Houston is in the political spotlight tonight. Thousands of people are lined up to pack into Shell Energy Stadium for a Get Out the Vote rally.
Vice President Kamala Harris is set to take the stage along with some very big names, which includes Beyonce and Willie Nelson. Our Katira Winfrey is live at the stadium. Katira, we're seeing issues with the heat and some frustrated people waiting to get inside.
Yeah, guys, you definitely see some people who are frustrated. When we first got here, we saw the line was nice and calm, but as they started letting people into the building, the line started shifting. People started cutting in line. You could see the people who were really upset who'd been waiting for hours, and so things have calmed down a little bit, but you start to see the crowd start to bottleneck from where all of the people started to cut in line. But again, earlier today, as people were waiting for the doors to open and start to allow people inside, as I mentioned before, everything was calm and quiet and cheerful, but this is Texas, and even though we are at the end of October, it's really hard for a lot of people who came with fans, chairs, water bottles, but at some point it got a little bit too much for quite a few people. As we were standing here, we saw first responders treating a lot of people with ice packs. Some people were taken onto stretchers and taken away, but some people I spoke to said they don't mind the long lines or the heat because they wanted to be part of something historic.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. This election is more important than any other election in most of our lifetimes. You need to vote because we need to get rational, logical people in that office. So I wouldn't have missed this for anything.
And the Houston Fire Department says they have treated a handful of people and that they've had to be transported for heat-related illnesses, but they haven't given a specific number. But they said if you come out here, make sure you practice heat safety. But again, the line is still very much long and people have been streaming in for the past hour and a half to 2 hours. But we'll of course bring you an update in about 30 minutes. Live in downtown Houston, Katira Winfrey, KHOU 11 News.
Katira Winfrey has been monitoring that situation outside. Katira, what can you tell us about that right now?
Well, Victor, the energy is still very high, but there was quite a bit of frustration. Early on, people started cutting through the barricades because there wasn't really any line control. And you had people who'd been waiting in line for hours. When the doors opened at 3 o'clock, people started to swarm the barricades. But now people in line are starting to firmly man the gate, so things are starting to calm down quite a bit. It's hard to put a number on it, but just looking around, I can estimate possibly thousands of people are showing up. People are still coming and joining the line. Now, many of the people I spoke to talked about the historic nature of this election, and that is what brought them out today. As you can imagine, most of the people here are in support of Vice President Harris. However, I did see a few former President Trump supporters also waiting in line. Now, you have people here from all walks of life and all ages, and I got a chance to speak to quite a few people in line today. For some of them, this is their first time voting. Others are here voting and to help give voice to their children.
I have kids who are LGBTQIA. I have a child who's trans. The laws that are going on right now targeting people for being who they are unconscionable. And we need to fight to stand up for human rights, all humans.
And with huge crowds like this and the heat we experienced today, HFD did have to respond and treat some heat-related illnesses and even transported a couple people away. And now the sun is starting to come down, but we just saw another set of first responders go through, and they've been sporadically bringing people out from the line, possibly for more heat-related illnesses. But again, we're going to stay out here and bring you the latest, and I'll see you again in about an hour or so. For now, reporting live in downtown Houston, Katira Winfrey, KHOU 11 News.
The heat, people started lining up last night waiting to get in. Katira, I know the heat has been a problem for some folks this afternoon with record-setting temperatures. How are things right now?
Well, Lynn, things are going really well right now. The line is finally starting to move. I did get a chance to speak to one woman who says when she reserved her ticket, she got a notice that 1 million people had already requested access. Now, we don't know if that's accurate or when the cutoff point will happen as people continue to stroll in. But we do know that this stadium sits about 22,000 people when they have soccer matches. And right now, thousands of people have been streaming in through these lines. And a lot of the people people I spoke to said they had to be here to experience this historic moment. Having a black woman on the presidential ballot is something they never thought they'd experience. So waiting in line, no problem. Dealing with the heat, no problem. But the heat did play a factor for some people. HFD did have to respond to multiple heat-related illness calls and even took some people to the hospital. I got a chance, as I mentioned, to speak to quite a few people from all different backgrounds, all age ranges, and for some, this will be their very first time casting a ballot.
Never in my life thought I would very much be voting for a woman, specifically a black woman. And to have that representation just in front of the camera and just going everywhere, meeting with people, talking with people, it's just the president that I want and the president that every person in America deserves.
And earlier today, there were some issues with line control. As the line started moving, people started cutting in line, but the people in line actually took hold of it and started to get everything back in order. And I want to say about 15 minutes or so ago, Colin Allred actually just showed up and we heard the crowd start to cheer. So the energy is alive. People are ready to get inside. For now, reporting live, Katira Winfrey, KHOU 11 News.